Ladies and gentlemen, you are about to witness the evolution of the Total War Warhammer competitive metagame. In this matchup, I'm going to be playing the Vampire Counts, and I'm going to be facing off against the Warriors of Chaos. So guys, the secret to this build is not one, not two, but three black coaches. So as you guys can see, I have two over here on this flank and then one over here. So these Warriors of Chaos, they're in for some trouble, guys. And the black coaches against Chaos actually aren't terrible, all jokes aside. They do have 120 armor piercing damage, and let's go ahead and pause it here just so we can get a good look at all the stats here. So it actually has 90 armor piercing damage, plus it also has a bonus for infantry of 20, and they don't work like traditional chariots. Essentially what you want to do is find like a target, whether it be Chaos Marauders or Chaos Warriors or any troops like that they can get in there on and not take too much damage from, and then leave them in sustained combat. So the longer they're in combat, 45 seconds they get the Black Scythes, which gives them speed and a charge bonus. After 90 seconds, they get the Unholy Vigor, which gives them 36% AP, which is actually a lot. And they also get fire damage. And then lastly, they get the Black Nimbus after 135 seconds, which gives them 44% damage resistance, makes them very, very tanky. And also gives them the Strider effect. So, aside from the Black Coach Beatdown squad, I do have a front line of Graveguard. One group of Graveguard here. I have the Stearnsmen, and I have some Skeleton Spears in the middle because, again, I was essentially out of resources from getting 3 Black Coaches, so I really had to strip down my main army. On top of that, I do have a Claw of Nagash. I do have the Strigoi Ghoul King. So, again, I really wanted to make this Black Coach build special, and I brought the most Haggard of the Vampire Lords. And by Haggard, I don't mean bad. I just mean kind of ridiculous. And he does have the Command of the Unliving. He does have Soul Blight, Doom and Darkness, as well as Invocation from the Heck and Spirit Leech. So I think I actually forgot to get rid of some of the abilities, but he's ready to party, guys. He hits very hard, and he does have poison damage. And not a complete joke, but against like Kolek, he's going to have to be very, very careful. On top of that, I know a lot of you guys who are watching this on stream were demanding the Vargulf, so I decided to bring him too, just to make this Black Coach build even more glorious. So for my opponent, he actually has Kolek, he has a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, and a second one. So these Shaggoths are going to be excellent at hunting down the Black Coaches. So I have to be really, really careful of that. Because again, they do have an anti-large bonus. They have armor piercing. They're quite a force to be reckoned with. So aside from that, he has mostly Chaos Marauders. The Dragon Ogres and the Chaos Spawn, which he has in the second line, are very expensive. So he's going to have a very, very cheap front line here. So 2 Shaggoths, 2 groups of Chaos Spawn, which I personally think are pretty terrible against the Vampire Counts, and just as a unit in general are pretty terrible. But still, 2 of them, and they can do pretty well against like lightly armored units. So against like, well, I guess zombie summons or against Cryptors, they can do pretty well for themselves. He does have some Aspiring Champions over here, which I think are a very good choice. The magic damage is most certainly pertinent against ethereal units. And aside from that, he does have some Marauder Horsemen, and it looks like some more Chaos Marauders over here. So definitely a lot of Shaggoths, a lot of heavy kind of beatdown type units, and it's going to be a challenge for the Black Coaches, but let's see how they do. So over here on the far side, I engage right away with this Black Coach, but he responds very quickly with the Shaggoth, and you can see I just get in there and run some of these guys over, and the Wraith who's piloting this thing just immediately realizes that the Shaggoth is going to give him the business, so he just has to pull out right away. That's what she said, and he's definitely going to scurry back to some of his friends over here. So in the front line, the Mortis Engine's going to get in and start draining all of these low-tier troops, who will be pretty subject to terror, because again, they don't have Archaon or anything that can make them immune to psychology. So in the back line, he's just chasing the Black Coaches, and you can see I pull all the Cryptors on it to surround it, because again, I have to protect my most prized possession here, which is going to engage in the front line here, and you can see the double Black Coach coming in, just going to get all raw and dirty on these guys in the front line. And this, guys, if you are using the Black Coaches, this is exactly where you want them. You want them like mixed in with frontline troops, just kind of laying a smackdown. Look at him get up with that big winding arc. And he actually hits kind of like a monstrous unit. So they have a pretty decent little charge bonus, but more importantly, guys, they actually hit pretty hard with these like kind of sustained frontline attacks. So you don't want to be cycle charging them. You want to be leaving them in combat. So the 2 Black Coaches are going to do some serious work. And guys, they also do cause terror, which is a very, very serious mechanic. So, against these like low tier troops, you can see they're shaken and their leadership is going to take a huge hit. You can see this coach just getting down and dirty in here. And there's another one riding in from the back. So, man, I don't know if my opponent has any idea what to do against all these coaches. And you can see that there's actually a massive Marauder route in the front line. It looks like a full group of them running. And these other ones are immediately going to start suffering leadership hits as well. So you can see they're taking a bit of a leadership hit from their friends routing. But in the back line, my opponent's Shaggoths are just getting down and dirty, just laying an absolute circle beating on these guys over here. You can see like they have them in a little triangle right here, and they're literally just mosh pitting these Cryptors and doing some great work. So the Strigoi Ghoul King does summon some of these little Crypt Ghouls over here, who will be decent against the Shaggoths because they do have poison, and they have pretty high weapon strength for against lightly armored targets. But still, the Shaggoths are just rampaging around my back line right now. They're just bullying this Vargulf, laying an absolute smacking down on my troops. But the Black Coaches in the front line, guys, are doing some serious work. They're laying a smacking on these Chaos Spawn. They're doing pretty well against the Chaos front line, or what's left of it, which isn't really much. And over here, my Claw of Nagash was able to stabilize a little bit, which was quite nice. And if we take a look at the Black Coach right now, it actually has the first buff. So it has the speed buff and the charge bonus. And you can see it's getting in here. And I love the animation when he like winds up and just like claws those guys. It's just so incredibly haggard. But against infantry, it actually doesn't do bad because he does have that bonus versus infantry of 20, so it's going to be pretty strong. And you can see they actually get terror routed right here, so he's going to be able to chase them off no problem. And that terror route mechanic would actually work pretty good against like Chaos Warriors and, you know, even more elite Chaos Infantry that aren't immune to Psychology. And it could probably even route Chosen with terror because, again, Chosen, for some reason or other, aren't immune to Psychology. So over here, the Strigoi Ghoul King, he's kind of just hiding among the boys, but it's going to be really scary if these Shaggoths decide to start attacking him because, again, he is a pretty squishy target. And you can see Kolek, or at least this Shaggoth right here, you know, kind of gets his sights on him, and it's a very, very scary situation. But thankfully for me, I do have this Claw of Nagash, which is kind of keeping most of my line alive, you know, because, again, it does provide that kind of perpetual healing to all units that are in its radius. So the Black Coach here actually has 20 kills. This one, it looks like, has about 10 kills, but unfortunately my Vargulf here is just getting the beat down from these Shaggoths, and they're going to be very good. And you can see they're just kind of like taking turns running into it and knocking it over. They're definitely very alpha as it pertains to monstrous units, and this Vargulf is not going to have a good time. You can see it's just getting clobbered around the battlefield. And again, Dragon Ogres, this is about 6,000 resources worth of units, so still, that's pretty much all he has left, but it's still a lot. But still, you can see I have the 3 Black Coaches going on, and they're just getting in there and ramming the back of these Shaggoths. And, you know, people underestimate them. They do hit pretty hard, even against, like, monstrous units like this, even though they're traditionally meant for infantry. And a very, very good Lord of the Storm going off for my opponent, shagging. I was going to say shagging some of those Cryptors there, but definitely doing some good work. And the Strigoi Ghoul King is in a little bit of trouble now, guys. He's a little bit low in health. He's somewhat close to his healing cap as well. And the 3 Shaggoths are just going after him right now. But the entire time they're going after these guys, they're just getting rammed by the 3 Black Coaches just coming up behind him, doing some decent HP damage. And also there are a few Cryptors here applying some good poison. And the Strigoi Ghoul King himself is a pretty good duelist. He hits hard. He does have poison. He has armor piercing. Granted, it isn't terribly, you know, useful against Kolek and Dragon Ogre Shaggoths who have low armor anyways. But he also does have Spirit Leech. But look at the HP damage these guys are taking, not only from the Mortis Engine, but the perpetual poking of those 3 Black Coaches. They're actually starting to wear these guys down. This Dragon Ogre has about 2,500 HP. This one has 1,700. And are they immune to Psychology? So let's actually pause this right now and see if Dragon Ogres are immune to Psychology. So let's go ahead and pause over here. And it looks like they cause fear and terror, but they're not immune to Psychology. So you can see the chilling aura from the Claw of Nagash is slowing them down, and then the Reliquary Corruption is doing that perpetual damage. That's pretty good. But these guys are just kind of coming back here and ramming him. You can see he's really trying to target the Strigoi Ghoul King, which is really smart. Again, you know, either taking that out or the Claw of Nagash would have been pretty good. He might have wanted to take out the Claw, because I think that might have been a little bit easier. Granted, the Claw is pretty quick, so the Strigoi Ghoul King, what I'm doing is just kind of pathing him back through the coaches and just letting them ram. And you can see these guys come in right away, but they actually get immediately terrified and just turn tail and run. So I do actually have some Graveguard and the Sternsman and a few other troops here. And you can see the coaches are in hot pursuit, guys. They're coming in hard. They definitely smell that Shaggoth blood in the water. Just look how ridiculous they are. So he gets in there and takes a little bit of a swing. Doesn't do too much HP damage, but, you know, they're starting to get overwhelmed. So I still actually have, it looks like 1, 2, and the third one coming in, which is an okay health. And it's going to be tough because they're going to get terrified, and that perpetual drain effect from the Claw of Nagash is going to be really strong, but a very, very good Lord of the Storm coming down. My opponent was really good with this all game, and you can see it makes square contact, basically takes out most of those Graveguard and leads them to crumbling. And in the back line, he does have some Marauder Horsemen who are doing some decent work poking this down. It only has 25 or 26 HP, but these guys are actually broken right now. So the Coach and the Strigoi Ghoul King were able to fend off the Warriors of Chaos. They shattered this one, and you can see that Kolek is broken as well. So that's pretty much all she wrote. Just look at that thing chase him with just the Haggard Goon Squad over here. So pretty great stuff. If you want me to just be completely frank, I don't think his build was optimal. I think that the Chaos Spawn were like a huge like wasted investment, and if he had invested in some more like sustainable troops, like even like some Halberds or I don't know Chaos Knights or something, he probably would have been, you know, way ahead in that respect. But, you know, also the Vampire counts have such a massive advantage over the Warriors of Chaos. That was the true reason I was able to pull that out, because again, 3 Black Coaches isn't optimal by any means, although guys, they actually did not perform badly there. So pretty fun stuff, and well played to my opponent Krizan. I look forward to seeing you again on ladder. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the triple Black Coach, the new meta defining build, and more content coming soon.